All righty. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this month's Women with Mojo interview series with inspiring women over 40. And I am so excited today for your guest today. I'm not going to tell you a little bit about her in just a moment, but I created these Women with Mojo interviews specifically because Mojo means, your passions, your adventure, the excitement that you bring to life. And us as midlife women, a lot of times people report kind of feeling invisible, not being seen, feeling like, they just don't really know where they are in life. And so I created this series to kind of highlight some women who are already out there taking their gifts, sharing them with the world, sharing their stories, and inspiring people to kind of give us all a little bit of oomph, a little bit of something helping us to find our midlife mojo as well. So I do encourage you to participate in the conversation today in the chat. At the end, we'll go back to the questions if we have any. But just sit back and just enjoy this conversation today with my special guest, Elena Muratova. And I'm going to bring Elena on in just a moment, but I want to first read to you her bio. So Elena Muratova is an Olympian and expert in wellness and life transitions. She spent almost 25 years in professional sport, taking podiums at Europe Cup and World Cup competitions in mogul skiing. The pinnacle of Elena's athletic career was the participation in the Olympic Games 2014. The same year, Elena retired from professional sport, moved from Russia to Canada, and started a new career. In 2019, she published her best-selling book, My Russian Way to Boldness: How to Find Yourself, in which Elena talks about her journey from anxiety and traumas to resilience and confidence. She also shares how facing alopecia, the disease that forces hair to fall out, led her to body and self-acceptance. Elena is now a life transition coach and wellness specialist and has her own YouTube channel, Elena Muratova. So let's bring on Elena here. There we go. Welcome,
Yeah.
welcome. Hello. So good to see
Hello.
you.
Hello, Jill. Hello, everybody.
Yes, welcome. So welcome. So you're in Canada. Where in Canada are you?
I'm in beautiful British Columbia on Vancouver Island.
Oh, that's a dream place for me and my husband to get to. That is on our bucket list. So when I get there, I'll knock on your door.
Oh, it will be lovely.
Yes, yes,
Such a beautiful place.
yeah, you're very now, and we live in the opposite ends, right? I'm in Florida, so we couldn't possibly be more opposite in the kind of places that we live. But beautiful,
Exactly.
beautiful world we live in, and no matter where we are, for sure. So, Elena, I can't wait to just kind of jump into your story. I see your is that your T-shirt in the back there? I don't know what that is, and all this. So you've got a lot of stuff to unravel in this time together. But before we get going, I always just like to kind of get a little, I don't know, peek into where you are this moment. So I always just like to ask this question of my guests, and that's just this week, today, in general. What's something that you're thankful for? That kind of just gives us a little peek into your world.
Yeah, actually, this week I'm really thankful for having my niece and nephew. I have a niece, she's almost 7, and nephew, he's like 1.5. And I had a conversation with them today, of course, online because they live in Russia with my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm always so grateful to have this opportunity to see them grow even
Yeah.
from the distance because they're so cute. Like, yeah, they give me so much joy and they're so funny.
You can, even as
I
you're
love
talking
them.
about them, you can see the energy all around you from that. And that's like what's so amazing about this world, right? You can literally you can see them grow up. I mean, you literally can see them grow up. So that's wonderful. That's awesome. So, well, let's talk a little bit about your story and where you came from and, all of that kind of stuff. So my first question is, so you were an Olympian, right? For the Russian ski team? I'm going to assume
Yeah,
that's where you came
exactly.
from. Yeah. So how kind of old were you when you started? And, when did you kind of know that you wanted to be a professional or was that just kind of something that you just kind of went up the ranks? How did all of that kind of, I've never met an Olympian before, so I got to ask you a couple of these questions. How did it all happen?
Oh, I guess everybody is different, but for me, I have this joke that I had only two choices because both my parents are coaches. So my dad is a coach in alpine skiing or downhill skiing, and my mom in figure skating. So I
Ah,
had those two choices in my life.
yep, yep.
And my mom, she didn't want to be a coach for her girls.
Uh-huh.
And my dad was happy to take us on and coached us for many years. So to be honest, I don't remember myself without skiing. I started to ski when I was 3 years old, something around
Wow.
that.
Wow.
Yeah, and just continued till I was 27. I still ski with my husband, but it's just for fun right now.
Fun. Yeah, I would have exactly at some point. But that's amazing. So that's like almost 25 years of really dedicating yourself to something, right?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm sure, if you started when you were 3, like you said, it was probably just like putting on a pair of shoes for you, and putting on skis probably wasn't any different in how that happened. But, when you decided that, okay, I mean, obviously for Europe Cup, for World Cup, for, those kind of things that I was reading about in your bio, that doesn't just happen just because you want to, right? Like, so what would you say, I don't know, like what was like a driving force for all of that? Because I would have to imagine to achieve those kind of levels, you had to give up some things, right? And maybe not have the same childhood as maybe some other people because you were probably doing all that. I'm just putting words in your mouth. You tell me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, of course, it was not easy to achieve that level and become an Olympic athlete. Initially, when I was a child, of course, I didn't spend a lot of time training. When I
Right.
was 5 or like 7, but gradually, sport became something bigger in my life, not just a hobby or activities that brought me joy, but
Mhm.
more than my career even. Yeah, literally became all my life.
Mhm.
And I remember just dreaming about going to different countries and competing in international competitions. When I was watching different international downhill competitions, sitting in my bedroom,
Yeah.
having this little TV inside me,
Yeah.
and just, oh wow, it was so cool, and I wanted to go there. And yeah, I was just dreaming about. Um, that sort of achievements in the future. Just
Mhm.
wanted to experience that and understand what about.
And I love that
Yeah.
because I love the way that you said that you were dreaming, right? And so, my group is all about midlife women. And so, a lot of times, what happens when we hit midlife, we stopped dreaming or we've put our dreams on hold and so forth. And so, that's kind of why I asked you that question, because I think that for a lot of people watching, they too probably had dreams like that, right? They had some things, but maybe life got in the way, or maybe, it wasn't. So, I think it's, as we get older, it's important to, maybe it's not the same dream, but to find that same kind of excitement a little bit in that dream. So I
Oh
think
yeah.
I loved listening to you kind of talk about that and seeing your excitement around that. And I think it's going to spill into, I'm sure spills over into a lot of what you do. Um, I think once you become a dreamer, right, you kind of, and that you can achieve your dreams, that
Hmm.
they that you get to dream more, that that there's more dreams. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I was just going to say that sport definitely taught me to be persistent, because dream gives a lot of energy, but I needed to put a lot of efforts to into reaching it. And you are right. There were a lot of sacrifices, because being a professional athlete is not so fun and easy most of the time.
It's not
Like,
glamorous.
yeah. I was talking to some people who never been an athlete before, and they were like, "Oh, you're traveling abroad, you visit all these countries, you have a lot of fun." I was like, "Oh, usually we go to this little ski resort somewhere in the middle of nowhere and spend 1 month there training hard. That's all."
That's
And
crazy.
occasionally we have time to visit some big cities, but it's very rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, it just taught me to be persistent in moving forward to my dream. Also, on my way to Olympics, I had 2 knee surgeries
Mhm.
from skiing. So yeah, it was a lot of ups and downs for me, that way to Olympic Games. Yeah.
So when you were standing there on a podium, right? I mean, you've stood on podiums before, I right there. So that feeling you have, like, okay, I've set out for something and I've achieved it. How do you use? Do you like draw on that feeling now in your life in other areas? You find yourself when you face obstacles or things that are coming up. Do you find yourself kind of remembering? Well, I once stood, did something really hard and I did it. Do you find that that helps you in any way? In your life now?
Yeah, it is helpful, but actually, that achievement also changed some of my perspectives on life in general.
Hmm.
Um, I never took Olympic podium, but when I was standing on World Cup
Yeah.
podiums, yeah, I realized that I need to be more clear about how I want to process to look like the process of achieving my dream.
Hmm.
Because again, like I sacrificed a lot and I didn't spend time with my family,
Yeah.
friends. I didn't have time for my hobbies, anything. Like I was so focused on sport because it just was a lifestyle of
Hmm.
yeah. And it was so emotional to be on the podiums and achieving that, and some participation in Olympic Games and doing that Olympic run and seeing all
Right.
these people cheering me up. It was yeah crazy and so emotional, but also it was short.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
pretty short.
Yeah. I think that happens to a lot of us, right? Like we all have our eye on the prize, and then we hit the prize, and we're like, "Oh, that's it. Okay, like,
Exactly,
I,
yeah,
I
and
got
it
I
was
got the
this
medal. Now what? Like, like, yeah.
and it was this feelings like huh, exactly, like
And how old were you? And how old were you when you were in the height of your career? How old were you then?
yeah, I retired when I was 27.
In your
Yeah.
20s. So yeah, so you were in your 20s. So I think I can see where that would be. And I love the fact that you kind of recognize that, right? I think a lot of people, oh well, you're on this on the the or on a podium, right, for these World Cups, these things achievement. It should all be perfect, right, and wonderful, and everything should be. And I think that's even in life, right? It doesn't You don't have to be on a podium to recognize that maybe the direction that you're striving, maybe you're putting things aside that maybe are more important, or maybe you want the process to look different. And I know we're going to get into your whole life transition thing, and I'm sure that plays into that because you know that how can that not, right, if you're kind of going along that way. So I kind of wanted to talk before I mention this. I wanted to say that I myself am not an Olympian, not a World Cup, but I was a figure skater myself,
Oh,
and as a child, from when I was like 4 years old till I was 10 years old. And I did competitive ice skating. I was in competitions. My dad would drive me all over New England and Massachusetts growing up. So I just that little bit, right, as a child. And when I was at about 10 years old, I was given the choice. I could have either continued ice skating, but that meant getting up in the morning before school. It meant after school. It meant all these things. Or my parents said, or you can kind of go be with your friend. They gave me the choice at 10. And so I did not choose your path. I chose the other path, right? So I've always had that what if back there. What if I had done, the other? So and I think we all choose our paths, but I commend you for what you did, and also that you recognize that that was a time period in your life, and that I can't wait to hear now phase two of Elena's life. So life after being an Olympian, right? Because I'm sure you've lived a lot of life then. So my question is, I wanted to pull this up. So you wrote a book, right? We talked about that. Let me pull this up here. There it is right there. So love that cover, love the title, love everything about that, and so forth. But that cover is very impactful, right? I mean, you
oh,
look at that,
thank
that's
you.
very, very impactful. And you taking the A and the O, that's, it's really just in those, that just taking that A to that O. Oh, that's why I know you didn't give me a title for this, but that's why I named it, because I loved that. Like that was like ownership to me. And I really, really loved that. So it's all about, I'm assuming, your journey really from what you were going to talk about, getting alopecia, to you finding, as you said in your bio, your kind of acceptance and so forth. But maybe you can kind of go back, and maybe not everybody knows what alopecia is. Maybe tell what it is, how that started, your journey there, the book, I'm going to go off screen. You just go and tell your story a little bit here on this.
Okay, thank you.
All right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite a journey for me. And I decided to write this book just to let people know that they are not alone if they struggle with something, because I struggled. And sometimes it seems that nobody was at the same place. So just wanted to share it with people and give them some support. And I started to have alopecia when I was around 13 years old. It's never been so huge. I usually had small, small bald patches somewhere in the nape, and it was easy to hide them. But at that point, I even didn't know that it was alopecia. I lived in Russia and we went to different doctors with my mom, and nobody could tell us what was happening with me. They did a bunch of tests and everything was okay, but I was losing my hair. It was stressful, and especially being a teenager. And it kept me at sub tension for a while, just because I never knew how much hair I would lose and at what spot. So like it was kind of always on guard from that perspective. And then in 2013, I guess, maybe because of the stress from the Olympic Games or preparation to Olympic Games, my alopecia started to progress. So I just started to lose more and more hair. And eventually, yeah, I reached the point when I already couldn't hide any bald spots. I was facing the choice about hiding my bald spots with something which was not comfortable, or just shaving my head and just being like that. Yeah, and I eventually chose to shave my head. And alopecia, it's an autoimmune disease which doesn't affect any other body organs, as far as I know. But doctors do not know the cause and treatment for this disease. So it basically affects alopecia. And I quite lucky with having only this type of alopecia, because some people, they lose like all hair on their bodies, like no eyelashes, no nothing like that. So for me, it wasn't so severe. So it was great just to face this change in my appearance. But it was very, very hard. Like I was going through so many life transition in 2014 when I retired from sport, when I was 27. I also moved to Canada from Russia. I got married and started living with my partner, and I never lived with anybody before, with romantic partner before. So it was a lot of transitions, and also this alopecia was happening. It was quite stressful. Yeah, and so I write in my book about that. I write about dealing with alopecia and being able to change attitude to my body in general, because as an athlete, I just was used to using my body as a tool, just not paying attention to discomfort or pain, just pushing through and not caring about my body as I needed probably. So when I retired from sport, I started to have this alopecia, and also I started to have migraine and low back pain. Like it was awful. Like my body was just falling apart.
It's like finally
Yeah,
you stopped and your body's like, okay, now you're going to
exactly,
live.
exactly. And I heard that story from a few athletes, to be honest,
Interesting.
who
Yeah.
retired earlier than me. They told that, when we were involved in sport, we felt good, and when we retired, something strange started happening. And it's something that happened to me exactly the same. Like my body just was like, okay, now I can relax.
But didn't know how to relax almost. Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, so also writing of course about alopecia, and it was a huge transition to just accept these changes in my appearance. Yeah, it was hard because a lot of my femininity was connected to my hair. I
Mhm.
don't know why, just I always imagine being a woman, it's having a
Yeah.
long hair or at least some hair.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it was like, wow, who I am now without my hair and without my career and without my connections, with all these losses that happened
Yeah.
uh, at the same time.
Yeah, and it's like, and obviously the hair loss was the physical manifestation, but you had all these other, things that were going on around you and so forth. So, how did you, find was right? So obviously, writing the book was healing for you and helpful for you for in terms of finding this acceptance. How was there anything else that you did? Maybe any other things that you kind of tools that you did, or any other types of ways that you did just to kind of accept who you are, because obviously, I loved your bio picture. I mean, you just, it looks beautiful. And so obviously you have come to this acceptance that you are beautiful as you are, which we all are, right? Because whether you're bald when you're 27, or you've got thinning hair when you're 42, or, whatever it is, or we all have things, right? And so it's finding that acceptance. And especially, I know for women who are over 50, especially, right? A lot of our bodies, when we look in the mirror, we don't recognize ourselves anymore. And so it's finding this acceptance of who we are with whatever we've got in front of us and still loving ourselves. So was there other things that you did to kind of get there?
Yeah, one of the things that was really helpful to me, it's to expand my identity and actually work on finding who I am beyond my career and my appearance. It was very helpful. Just dig deep in that and actually answer this question, like who I am, and find all these little pieces that I didn't notice before. I really encourage our listeners to do that exercise. Just sit down and answer this question, who I am, because it's can be life changing sometimes. Yeah, it if you can write down so many answers, and some people I know they were able to put only like 3 answers,
Yeah.
and it's totally fine. It's just all about exploring and finding new parts of yourself. So it was really helpful for me. Like it gave me this sense of stability
Hmm.
in myself. Yeah, just kind of seeing that I'm not only an athlete, or I'm not um, a woman with long hair, but I still can be a woman,
Yes.
and I have so many other parts of me that can support me, and I can still be myself. Yeah, so it's very, very challenging when we only attach ourselves to one look, one appearance,
Hmm.
or one social role, or anything, or one trait. Yeah. So kind of expanding that can be very
Yeah.
healing.
Yeah, I love that. And I think, and when you're talking also, like, so for a lot of women who are listening, maybe their role was being mom, right? Like that's been their role for as long, like 20 something years, just like you,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so now all of a sudden those kids are gone, they're growing up, and it's, who am I? Right? Asking that question, who am I? Right? Who am I if I'm not mom? You're always mom, but who am I if I'm not schlepping my kids around? Who am I if I'm not preparing? Who am I? Right? Who, that kind of thing. A lot of women this time of stage, they're going through divorce transitions, or a death of a spouse transition, or transitioning from being working like you, like maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're at an office and now they're home. So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's what you do, right? You're a life transition coach. So kind of talk a little bit about, I love that name. So what does exactly that mean? What is, because what does that life transition coach mean for you? How would you define that?
Yeah, I just being this support for people who go through transition. When I was an athlete, I always had coaches at my sites. Like at some point, we had like 4 coaches in different areas, like in jumps, in skiing, in physical
Yeah.
level. Yeah, it was like I always had the support, and then when I retired, like it was awful because I had nobody at my side anymore,
Mhm.
um, and I didn't know what to do, like how to find
Yes.
this help and how to navigate through transition, because it's something that I never experienced. This major transition, of course, we all go through little transitions in our life, but it was like something major, and I wasn't prepared to that. To be
Mhm.
honest, I just kind of dived in, and that's all. And then I tried to swim and manage. Yeah, and so with time, I just decided to become a life transition coach and help people who go through the same experience. And I talked to people and discovered that their experience often are similar to what I went through.
Mhm.
So yeah, just helping people to again define themselves, to know what to expect, how to prepare themselves to be more resilient in that stage of life.
And so it's interesting, right? So you had all these wonderful coaches. You were a sports person, right? And now you've transitioned to being the coach, right? And so it may not be for skiing, but it's still, it's still a sport, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're still helping people in that way and guiding them. And so you're the perfect person for that. You definitely, like you said, if anybody's worked with coaches before, and you know the importance of if you really have something you want to get to with all the obstacles that come up with all those things, to not have somebody by your side. You did the life transition yourself, and that was the hard. And so I love that you're kind of wanting to not have people have to do it alone, and being able to kind of guide them, based on what you've done and so forth. So what would you say for people who are watching? Maybe what are some first steps to kind of creating, either whether they've retired or they're in a transition? What's kind of a first step to creating this dream life, this new chapter for them?
Yeah, the very first step is very crucial, and it's about working with values and revising our values. It's so just, yeah, incredible work that can bring so much benefits. We might be so used to our values, so not aware about them. Like it's what I did, and my clients benefits from that work as well. Just to build dream life in this new chapter, we really need to start with this good base, with good understanding of what we want, what we really want, and it should be in congruence with our values. So it requires some exploration about what is important for me right now in my life, because we change and our values change. And that is why we need to revise them, because some values I had maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, they're not relevant to me anymore. But I still can be clinging to them, and it will lead to different decisions that maybe not very helpful to me right now in this stage of life. So basically, yeah, first step is about defining values and finding what is the most important for me in my life, or in the next chapter.
Mhm. I love that. And so that's kind of where I am, right now. Some people can probably tell my girls and my ladies when they're watching my videos, it's been coming out a little bit lately for myself, but I am in this transition phase in my own mind. I don't, of trying to figure out what is really making me happy, right? What are my values? And so, like you said, 5 years ago, my ask anybody, all I wanted to do was be on a big stage in front of thousands of people, traveling the world and da 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 da. And now all I want to do is, sit by a lake with nobody around and write. Okay. Like that's kind of where I'm right. And so but yet I've still been working like I want to be that have those, be on a stage and right. That's why and so all of a sudden I found myself in this place. Well, here I'm working on something, but wait, is that even really important to me anymore? So that sounds
Mm-hmm.
like exactly what you do is help people kind of figure that out, or maybe come to that realization, first of all, that maybe what you're after isn't really what, just because you've always gone after it doesn't mean it's still what important
Exactly.
to you. And I love that idea. You said to write it down, to kind of, I mean, maybe because I like to write, but I love that idea because I think that does help when you don't have a filter. and you can just kind of get that out of you as opposed to. So that's a great thing. So I know that you have a free gift for everybody, kind of based around this topic a little bit. Am I correct? Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So will you tell them? I'm going to go put it up on screen.
Yeah, it's actually talking about values. There are some exercises in this gift. It's a PDF mini workbook. You can just go and download. Yeah, here is the link. So it's 3 simple strategies on how to be resilient after retirement. And these simple exercises you can do they don't require a lot of time, but they're very helpful, again, just to build this resilience and be more aware about where you are right now and what you want in your next chapter.
Fantastic. So what we'll do is, ladies, after this is all over, we'll put that, obviously that's a lot to write down quickly. I promise you I'll put it in the chat so it's much easier for you to click on. And you can also ask Elena any questions in the chat about it. And so if people wanted to connect with you more, beyond the free gift, if they maybe wanted to work with you, what are some things that you've got going on so people can, how can they work with you?
Oh, I would love to have them on my discovery call. I just love meeting with people and talking to them and helping any way I want, who want and can, in the way that during discovery session, there is no pressure. People can come and I just will serve them, answering their questions and help them to find some directions and what to expect in their life transition, so we can go deep in some details, and they will definitely go away with some practical tools they can use in their life. And
so if they want to get that, just where would they go? Would they go to your website?
To my website, yeah, elenamuratova.com. I guess we also can share a link for that.
Yep.
Yeah, and they can just book a session with me. And I'm on almost any social media, Facebook,
yeah, definitely,
Instagram, yes. My YouTube channel, if people want to check it out, Elena Muratova, just my name, it will be lovely too. So yeah, they can connect me in different ways. Just ask me a question if something comes to your mind after this live session. It will be great.
And your book, I'm assuming, is on Amazon?
Yeah, and my book on Amazon, again, just type in my name, Elena Muratova, or the title of the book, but this name is just easier. Less typing, and you will see my book. Yeah, and it has digital format as well, so.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I'm so grateful that you are sharing this gift with everybody. I'm definitely going to download it. I definitely, I want you guys to, realize. So she retired in her 20s, right? And then had to find herself there. So really, I think that, you're talking about somebody who has worked, like had a whole life, right? I mean, like being in a limb, that was like a whole life that you had to then create a whole new life. And so for us ladies here in midlife, we're kind of in that same stage, right? It might have been earlier for you. You're going to get to do it again when you get to the stage.
I know, but I hope I already a little bit more prepared.
Yes, you will be. You definitely will be. So, I want to, if there's any just kind of, last words or anything, final things you want to say to everybody before we say, goodbye, I'll just have you go off and wait for me and I'll just say goodbye to everybody. But if there's anything, last words you want to say or words of wisdom.
I really hope that people will be able to give themselves a little bit more space and time, because it's so critical. We can be so busy, in our life and in our mind, occupied with worries and dealing with all these tasks we need to deal with. But we really need to give ourselves some space and time to think about our values, to be with ourselves, and to feel what is important for us. Because if we are always in a rush, we cannot feel what is valuable, what touches us. So yeah, I don't know. I hope people will give themselves some space and time. Again, it can be just walking outside for a few minutes, so finding this quiet space for yourself somewhere, whatever it is for you. Yeah, it will be so great if you can do it.
That's perfect. Hear that, ladies? We got to get quiet. We got to give ourselves some space, some time, in order to be able to really hear and know what our true values are.
Exactly. Yeah, because we can ask, but if we are not listening, What is the point of asking?
Exactly, exactly. Well, thank you so much. I have absolutely loved getting to know you and your story, and I'm excited just to see where your story kind of continues and goes as well. And I just know that you're going to help a lot of. I didn't actually ask, do you just work with women? I guess as we just go, do you just work with women, or do you work with women and men?
No, I work with anybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
women, men. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Good. Yeah. I was just so if anybody's got a husband too, I was just gonna, who's also
exactly.
retiring and needs a little change. I was just asking. Well, fantastic. So thank you. I'm gonna just take you off. Hang out there and wait for me as I just say goodbye here.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.
All right. So, ladies, wonderful, wonderful. That was another episode here of our Women with Mojo interview series with inspiring women. And I hope that you really got something and you really heard what Elena had to share with us because, this is a time of transition and you don't have to go it alone, right? That's part of what this group is about. And just bringing you resources, people like Elena who can help you along this so that we can all thrive, right? In our 40s, our 50s, our 60s, and beyond through these years. So I want to thank everybody for watching. And if you know of a woman with Mojo who's got an inspiring story, definitely send her my way. I would love to speak to her. And just because that's the whole purpose of this is for us all just to kind of learn from each other, gain inspiration from each other, and find our mojo. So thank you very much, everybody. And hold on here. Let me see here. There we go. All right. Have a great night, everybody.